From the liberal Northeast comes a lone voice of truth. Honest commentary in dishonest times. Think deeper with Juan Newsom. This is the Cure Radio Program. This is the Cure.
Thank you for tuning in to the Juan and Cathy Talk Radio. I am your host, Kat Hernandez, joined by Juan Newsom. Say hi, Juan.
Hey.
All right, guys. So we haven't been on for a minute, but we last left off with the previous presidential debate with
No, the
Trump.
convention.
Oh, the convention. That's right, the convention. There are no debates so far.
Well, there might not be a debate if Biden had their way, huh?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Dementia Joe.
Nevertheless, we will be covering the presidential race of 2020, the latest on Black Lives Matter, poor Cardi B getting divorced, and other celebrity gossip, because we do like talking about celebrities, even though we don't want to talk about the celebrities.
I know. Well, first, before you even dive into this thing, what's going to happen? They have a Supreme Court vacancy now.
Oh,
Ruth
is
Bader
this the
Ginsburg.
October surprise, or is there going to be another October surprise? Because it's not October yet.
No, this is it. I mean, it looked like Cat. I don't know what I said. Trump's going to have to pull a rabbit out of his hat because
It could be done because he already had the selection. He's already had the list. He was just ready to bang out all the people on the list.
Well, McConnell got the votes.
And he
McConnell
can
said
push
he
it
has
through. So let's go. What we waiting for?
They're going to have hearings for 3 days, and that's it. They're going to take it up for a vote.
Yeah, vote on this already. Like, get whoever we need to get in and be done with it. The thing is, they try to come up with all the controversy on the other side. Oh, well, Lindsey Graham said XYZ. Lindsey Graham has said a lot of things over the years in his career. He's opposed Trump. Then his friend died. Now he's for Trump. I mean, the flip-flopping all over the place. And the same thing with the rest of these politicians. But the reality is, it doesn't matter what these dinosaurs from the Senate or from the House have to say. What matters is what the president needs to get done. And if you will remember, during Obama, they were trying to push through that appointment, but it was the end of his term, his second term. And he had already destroyed the country. The last thing that anybody, including the American public, wanted was for him to appoint another radical to the Supreme Court that then we can't ever get out. You know what I mean? Like, if you see the judges that are currently sitting, you will have a conservative, let's say, minded judge defect and side with the Democrats. That'll happen regularly, depending on what the cases are. It will never happen in the other direction. It will never happen.
It's rare. It's
They
very
always
rare.
write the dissents. They're always writing the opposing arguments to why they didn't vote for it, So the last thing we need is a majority, especially when the media has become the majority for the radicals, the talking head of the radicals, which you can't get them off your television. So no matter what your beliefs are, it's like you can't get away from these people's ideology. So we need strong judges that go by what it says in the law, not what they interpret it to be in the 21st century, not what they interpret it to be depending on the social justice movements. We need steady people who interpret the law, and that's how they pass their judgments. Done.
Exactly, based on what's written. And don't think for a second, if it was the other way around, if the Democrats had the
Oh,
Senate
forget it.
and they had the presidency, they would step, let's say, for example, if Clarence Thomas died, they would step right over his cold corpse and they
Mm-hmm.
would appoint someone right away.
Oh,
So
as soon as he would have got diagnosed with the same thing that Ginsburg did, how is it possible that she's on her deathbed, and in hospice or whatever for the longest time,
doing
and they
papers.
never, yeah, exactly, exactly. And not to disparage anybody's last dying words, and not to take away from, the life of a person, but if you on your deathbed and you surrounded by your family and you're taking your last breaths, is Donald Trump going to be on your brain? Like
You
your
wouldn't be on
entire
mine.
life, career, your entire work, body of work, the amount of achievements you have had through your life as a woman, living in the era you were living in, making all these changes and being on the forefront of like this progressive women's movement. Really? Donald Trump is gonna be part of your last words to
Hmm.
your family?
Hmm.
I don't freaking think so. Like, go
Hmm.
shove that stupidity down somebody else's throat.
And look, and then liberals everywhere on social media, in the media, on the ground, in the Congress, in the Senate, they're basically threatening to burn the country down if they don't have their way. Okay, well, you're already burning the country down.
Exactly.
I mean, look at
Exactly.
all the cities that are on fire. So,
Exactly.
look, whatever.
Yeah. Like, go ahead, keep burning your own stuff. It
Keep
is what it
burning
is.
shit.
But this is the thing. This is their tactic, right? If you don't give us what we want, they're like the bully in the schoolyard. If you don't
Yep.
give us what we want, then we're just going to destroy everything and then nobody will have anything. Okay, let's do that. And then I would like for Trump to send in the National Guard, send in all the federal agents that he can to bring back civility. I mean, forget about peace because these people are constantly crazy, but bring back civility so that people could walk down the street without worrying about somebody running up behind them and punching them in the head unconscious, or drive-bys, or running over people, or blocking roads. Like, that's total nonsense and it needs to stop. I blame the mayor of Seattle, and the governor of Washington state that allowed for Chaz to happen, because that that scene, that inability for the police to hold their own station, it was the catalyst for what we're seeing now. Had they
Yep.
squashed that, none of the rest of this would have ever even happened. We wouldn't even be talking about this, and people would still be fighting about the masks.
Yep. And did you see what Nancy Pelosi said on George Stephanopoulos' show? She said that he questioned her. Well, actually, I have the audio here, but he questioned her. He asked her whether, what they could do to stop Trump from nominating the next justice. Would they use impeachment and so
Mhm.
forth? And Pelosi responded that they have a lot of arrows in her quiver. I'm like, chick, the Supreme Court appointment goes through the Senate. It has nothing to do with the
Nothing to do
House.
with her.
What the hell can you do?
Complain about it because
Like
there's
if
nothing else to do.
even if they had impeachment papers drawn up, they got to
Mhm.
have a trial and all of that. Even if they had, let's say, if they had papers ready to go over to the Senate, McConnell don't have to take those. I
How
mean,
about, instead of her being so concerned with what to do about Trump post election, which hasn't come up, why doesn't she sign the document so that people can have relief funds sent to them so that everybody whose unemployment benefits and such are expiring could actually continue to survive past the
she,
election?
you took the words right out of our mouth. She need to focus on that damn stimulus bill
Yeah, it's
and
called her job.
stop trying to get rid of Trump. I mean,
You
he's gonna
have a
get this
job,
fixed.
right? You have a job. That's why you were in the salon, making sure you look good for your TV presence and hopefully to fulfill your job. You're supposed to
Good
be a
Lord.
professional woman. You're supposed to be changing the world, preserving the US. Well, why don't you preserve some families of the United States and give this the stimulus money? How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Worrying about
Mm-hmm.
Trump. Trump worrying about Trump. Trump is worrying about China. Trump is worrying about Russia. Trump is worrying now about the forestry in California. Trump
All
got
of
a
the
lot
right
of things
things.
on his plate. You don't need to
Yep.
worry about Trump. Let Trump worry about Trump, okay?
All of the right things. So I bring that Supreme Court thing up to come up with the fact that this is definitely, I think we're headed into a contested election, and I think a major part of that is going to be the vote by mail stuff.
Well,
Uh,
yes, and you know what's interesting? And right in line with your state, New Jersey, they
good.
did send out that mass mailing of voter registrations, the ballots.
Yep.
So it just so happens that my husband at one point did live and was registered in the state of New Jersey. Like we're talking when he was 18, 19, 20, college age, that's like your permanent residence, you put your parents' house. So he received a ballot at his parents' home, which he has not occupied in over 25 years.
What? Where in the hell are they getting these lists
We
from?
lived in New York for 15 years, and he was registered in New York City for 15 years. And now we're registered in a totally different state yet again, and we've received the absentee ballot that we requested to vote here. So, how is it? This is exactly what Trump was warning about. And Barr, they're just sending out whatever names are listed on the voter rolls from New Jersey. It's not like they're going through it, filtering out people who maybe died or people who moved or whatever the case
Yep.
is.
Yep.
So what's to stop anybody's family member, let's say, from filling out, well, I know how she would have voted. I know how he would have voted.
Yep.
I'm just filling it in for them.
Or
This
just
is how
someone
they
from
would have.
committing fraud.
That's what it's all fraud.
So
The fact that you get a ballot for a residence that you haven't occupied in 25 years is the making of fraud.
and here's the
Why would you
thing.
send that out?
Well, here's the thing. The absentee ballot process is already a thing.
Yeah.
It's already taking place. So you don't need vote by mail. If
No.
someone wants to get a vote mailed to them,
You
all they
request
have to
it.
do is request it ahead of time.
I did. I requested it online. I got all my information for here, but we actually, it's so crazy with all the stuff that's happening. We're actually gonna go to the polls. We're gonna go stand online and vote in person because we're
Uh-huh.
like, we don't want things to be delayed. We don't want there to be these crazy issues and go through all this trouble and it not even be counted or
So
that
you're
there's so
registered
much
now.
paper. We went, you just register online. We registered at the DMV and
Okay.
then, to get on. And then we started doing the absentee thing for all of the other elections that were happening for like local people. And now that the presidential one is coming up, we have our absentee, but we're like, I think it's best if we just go in person,
This
like
issue,
ultimately.
this issue is going to end up in the Supreme Court. I can already smell it. Vote
Which is more reason for him to appoint someone,
exactly,
right?
exactly, exactly. It just has the makings because you have several states where they pass vote by mail, and then you also have several states that have, Michigan is giving you 2 weeks. You
Right.
know, I forgot the other state giving you 1 week. I want to say it's Pennsylvania giving you 1 week after the election. Like those election results should be tallied up that day and counted that day.
Not only that, first of all, let's look at the efficiency and efficacy of the government and their processes, right? Not
Hmm.
just the mail. To be honest, I've never lost mail. I even get a picture of my mail now on its way to come to me. So I can see all of the US postal mail that's coming to me. And I haven't
Hmm.
lost anything that I'm aware of.
Yep.
However, did Iowa ever reach how many people elected or who the winner was of
No.
Okay, so that was like, what was the problem there? They put in all these uh electronic voting, all these different new systems, but they don't know how to actually work it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how to send out tax return information to people who are expecting the checks. Remember the $1,200? Like how many millions of dollars went to old accounts, no accounts, fake accounts,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that kind of situation. And now you want to give people an extra 2 weeks. Well, what are you doing right now? What are you
Mm-hmm.
doing now that you need an extra 2 weeks? Aren't we all on quarantine, most people without jobs, or if you are have a job, you working from home? Like, what is preventing you from getting it together so that you can go and vote on the same day of? Like, you
Two
gotta pick up your
weeks.
food, go pick up,
Yep.
go in a mail, go in, or have it a election weekend. If that's gonna be the case, have the go in person over a two day period of time if you can't make it within the window or you don't feel safe being around so many people.
I could
Make it in
support
two
something
days.
like that. I
Yeah,
could
but
support
by
something like
mail,
that. But
what we
by
supposed to
mail,
wait 3 weeks to see who won, and then what for 3 weeks? Yeah, Nancy Pelosi's going to be in charge, or who are you appointing? Who is the default de facto president during that 2 3 week process?
well, 2 weeks will give them 2 weeks. That'll be enough time for somebody to stuff some ballot boxes somewhere.
Or throw
Like,
them in the garbage?
exactly. There's no way. It's just too, the risk of fraud is too great.
It doesn't
We,
even have to be fraud. It just is uh just mismanagement of all of these different groups. You're relying on people at a local level. So your post mail person, your postal service person is now the arbiter of who becomes president.
but this
Now
is
you're
how they,
entrusting them.
what,
Okay.
well, this is how they flip California, Orange County, California, during the midterms. They were doing all of this vote harvesting and whatnot.
Right, right, exactly.
So, look, my thing is, if you want to vote, you need to
Go.
get off your ass and vote.
Yeah. There's too
Okay.
many variables when it comes to all this technology that they want to implement, all these checks and balances. So you could send out ballots, but you can't have somebody show an ID
I see.
because then that's something against them. You can send out, okay, how about all the illegals who've been living here under a different name? And there's plenty of them who have an actual social security number. It's not theirs, but it is attached to a tax filing number. They're
Mm-hmm.
not legally here, but they still have a TIN or social security number, and they're still able to file taxes, and get a job. All
Mm-hmm.
illegal, all fraudulent. You mean to tell
Mm-hmm.
me that those people are not getting mail-in ballots?
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
would you know? How would you even know to verify who's a citizen, who's not a citizen?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So
Yep.
this is all garbage. And they haven't even done a census in how many years? When was the last census taken? So you
They
don't even know
did.
the population.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Imagine
true.
you could have, and there were cases that you can have over 100% votes in a different counties. How do you get more than 100% of the people who are currently living there? You count
Mm-hmm.
dead people and you count people who moved,
Yeah.
or you count illegal voters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's why Trump is going to end up with a third term for Democrats playing all these stupid games, trying to figure out how they can bamboozle everybody and force their way back into the presidency. Like, we don't want you, Hillary. Go away. We don't want you, Joe. Go to sleep. We don't
Well,
want you, Kamala. Okay? We don't want you.
technically, he can't get a third term, but if you have a candidate that's willing to keep the Trump voter base intact, the Trump coalition, that's what I like to call them, then, you would, then you have something. But
But I want to remind you, do you know who Bloomberg is?
Michael Bloomberg,
Oh, yeah. How many terms did he have as mayor?
Well, you'd have.
Okay.
Well, look,
You're
you'd have
supposed to
to.
have 2 terms as mayor. He was
Well, they
mayor
amended.
for
They
3 terms.
He did. They amended the city constitution, and then they amended it back after he was elected.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
But that would never. That's not going to happen in DC. Are you
But
kidding me?
who's to say?
Cat, you.
Who's to say if Michael Bloomberg can make it happen in New York, where they switched it and then switched it back? Who's to say that it can't happen under any other
That won't happen.
elected official?
Not with Trump. Not with Trump. Too many people want him out of DC. That will never happen.
Yeah,
They'll really be
I mean,
calling him a. They'll really be calling him a dictator then. And he's not even a dictator. He's like in terms of inside of the Beltway power, he's been the least powerful president in modern history.
there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
craziness.
yeah.
Anyways, folks, if you are just joining us, we are talking all things presidential race and elections. So, what we get into next, we already know Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Texas are all up in the air about what's going to happen with ballots,
Cheat by mail.
turning purple states blue or red.
Oh God. Cardi B got divorced. Did you see that?
Bendito Cardi B. I feel so bad for her. First, she gets the smackdown from Candace Owens, and then she has to admit to everybody that her baby daddy been banging other chicks. Like, but what goes through the mind? So let's get into the psychology of Cardi B.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Never, this is a warning to people. Never envy anybody else's success or life because you
Mm-hmm.
never know what's happening in their home. Look at the most successful, let's just say in terms of like even just social media or like financially successful women, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got Kim Kardashian, you got the whole Kardashian crew, right? Isn't the Kylie Kardashian is more successful than all the rest of them?
Yeah, Kylie Jenner. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
monetarily speaking, financially speaking.
yeah.
And she hasn't been able to hold on to a successful relationship. And she's a
True.
billionaire,
Yeah,
billions.
true.
Then you have, well, Kim, Chloe, all of them. Very successful. Well, let's take out Kim, but Chloe, not the best choice in guys either. And
Mm-hmm.
not able to maintain relationships. A lot of successful women find it difficult to have long-term relationships that are
Yeah.
balanced. So now you take VH1 hip hop, Love and Hip Hop star. She becomes a mega success in her own right,
Yep.
very confident, but she also has the background of a stripper, which that usually comes with its own self-hating
Baggage.
abuses and treatment from men and not really knowing stable positive relationships,
Mm-hmm.
sexual or otherwise. And notice how she's always talking about her, aside from her WAP, she's always talking about sucking it, banging it, needing to have it,
Mm.
does her breast, does her face, does her butt, her thighs, like constantly working on her physical attributes, constantly talking about it. And then her man, who she supports, right? I mean, he's kind of successful as his own little rapper self, but not hardly as successful as her.
Mm-hmm.
And she be loving on him like crazy. And then he's banging some other wops.
Instagram chick.
Some other wops.
I know he was messing with some Instagram chick at one point.
I mean, but isn't everybody like an Instagram chick at this point? I looked on Instagram and I was looking at all these pictures and I'm like, literally, you could take the head off of all of these pictures and just rotate them and no one would ever know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has the same freaking pictures, the same stupid poses, pictures reflecting themselves in the mirror. I'm like,
So
dang, it was cool when I was doing it before, but now That's all you see.
So are you an Instagram chick, Cat?
Yeah, I got tons of pictures on Instagram.
I'm hardly on the
Self-admitted.
gram.
I just like to I have always liked taking pictures. Like I was the queen of selfies before they coined the term selfie. So, Instagram for me was just natural. It was just a place to post the pictures I was already taking already. But now it's almost like it seems to me like a way to validate yourself, which is
Hmm.
not really the reason why I was taking pictures before, but it was like, hey, look at how, fit I am. And then you'll have a picture of all these girls who it makes them feel better. They look better. They want to promote their positive body health and all this stuff. But then it comes off sometimes as just like a certain desperation.
Mm.
And I think, like, especially in relationships and when you're talking about marriage and stuff, and you start coming off as desperate,
Hmm.
that really triggers the other person, whether it's the guy or the girl, to kind of start rethinking what they want and going outside of the relationship. And according
Yeah,
to
that's true.
the stories, it says that he was out and about on her since they first started getting dating. That
Oh
he's never been
wow.
faithful.
Wow. That's a tough one. That's a tough one, especially I mean, technically she could get another Offset, but
Always, yeah.
he's not gonna be able to get another Cardi B, not a
But that's the
successful
thing. That's the thing.
quality woman.
But you would think, well, who knows what her mindset is, but you would think that the success would be enough of a factor to keep them in line.
Well, she's
But
faithful to him.
well,
She's loyal. She seems
that
very
makes it
loyal and
worse.
faithful. Yeah.
That makes it worse.
She
If
seems very
he's
loyal and faithful, and she's willing, like she always demonstrates to do whatever sexually.
right, but is that demonstrating desperation is what I was saying.
Maybe, maybe, but
Like you're
some
so desperate for his affections that if he's out banging other girls, it must mean that you're not adequately, satisfying.
some person out there would love a Cardi B and not cheat on her.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's really a self-esteem issue. We should contact Cardi B and tell her, look, girl, you got to love you. You just got to love you.
Yeah,
And
that's
don't
true.
worry, because there's a perfect guy that's loving you. Look at J-Lo, same thing, right?
Yep, yep,
All those lovers, but she just needs to love her. And then she found somebody to match it.
yep.
Bandito Cardi B. All right.
This is the Juan and Kathy Talk Show. So if you're just tuning in, we are discussing Cardi B. We're discussing Instagram girls. If you want to share your opinion and post a comment, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Juan and Kathy Talk. Right now, we're going to take a quick break, commercial break, and then we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the Juan and Kathy Talk Show. I'm your host Juan Newsom, joined by Kat Hernandez, and for this hour we have some other topics. First, we want to discuss BLM and are they racist? But first, Kat, before we get directly into BLM, I was watching Fox News, and it was a Harris Faulkner show. Outnumbered, Newt Gingrich was up there. And they were talking about the riots and so forth, what's going on in a lot of the cities. And Newt Gingrich brought up the fact that a lot of these district attorneys that are in these Democrat cities that are burning down, that refuse to prosecute crime, they were funded by George Soros. And Harris Faulkner just cut him off. What is your take on
Yes.
that?
Well, they still do work for Fox News, which is changed since Roger Ailes was in charge, who kept it more conservative. Now it's run by his sons or whoever, family members who want to take it more mainstream, middle of the road, a little Democrat light on there. That's why they try to mix it up with their supposed fair and balanced. So I'm
It
sure she had
is.
uh a little birdie in her ear talking about cut him off, cut him off, cut him off, change the subject. Like,
She was listening. She was definitely listening to someone in
oh
her
yeah, the
earpiece.
producers. The producers are talking to them the entire time, telling her shut it down, change subject or whatever.
Hmm.
It's kind of one of these things where George Soros is almost like folklore, right? He's almost like
Hmm.
this character, the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes, of the big curtain. And it's like we all hear about it constantly, constantly, constantly. But why has no one done anything? Why has the
Not a
government
damn
not done
thing.
anything? You can't keep making this guy seem the devil and the scapegoat of everything politically or financially that goes wrong with the United States and then never prosecute anyone, never go after anyone. No, never. Like you went after what's that guy in the media with the white hair? Assange.
Oh yeah, Julian Assange. Yeah,
Yeah. You went after him viciously, had him trapped in
an embassy over
the
there in
which
London,
was it London's embassy
the
or I think he was in
Ecuadorian
like
embassy.
yeah, exactly. He was in the Ecuadorian embassy
Hmm.
and held up for like 7 years.
Yep.
But why is it then okay that Soros gets away with what he gets away with? You caught Epstein and his little girlfriend and their whole child sex trafficking ring that was allowed to go on for years and years and years. But you complain that Soros is funding BLM, that Soros is funding all these climate change things. Soros is funding now prosecutors, the DAs, the radical DAs that sit on what the Ninth Circuit or 11th Circuit in a lot of these places.
Hmm.
And but nothing happens. Nothing ever happens. No stories ever come down. So
Hmm.
what is it? Is he a scapegoat? Is he to like get us all riled up
He's
about it? Or is he actually really the one that we need to be going after?
he's just connected. And the thing is, he was behind. Look, when Trump first got it, first of all, he's behind the impeachment. Like his money, all the money leads to him in terms of the impeachment. Him and Tom Steyer, which Tom Steyer has been upfront about it, but he's financed a lot of those groups that really tried to push impeachment.
But we could also talk about the funding of all the caravans that were coming across the
Oh
border as
yeah,
soon as
that was
Trump
my
said he
next
was
thing.
shutting it
Yep,
down. I
yep.
mean,
He
but then
funded the
again,
caravans. Yep. He funds
is there
BLM.
anything illegal about doing that? He shorts the U.S. stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, all the time. He's
Yep.
constantly going against the dollar. And when you have somebody that has so much financial clout within one single market, as soon as they make a move, it could drop the market, raise it up, you know, bounce it back and forth. And those are people's life savings. Those are people's companies. Those are people's futures. He's able to manipulate all that stuff. So, is there anything illegal with those actions? Is there anything illegal of what he's doing?
Of course there are.
So
Just
then what's the problem?
no one's willing to do anything about it, and he's connected so wide and so deep that it's almost impossible.
I don't know.
Um,
To who? To what? Connected to what?
Trump might do something about it.
But
I,
connected to what? That's what I like. I don't know what
people
connections of
people
what.
behind the scenes, the deep state. He's definitely in with the Clintons, and he's in with the crowd that they're with. That's why look, Hillary Clinton's never been prosecuted.
Exactly.
The Clintons have committed multiple felonies together,
Hmm.
many felonies. But again, their connections are so deep and wide in the deep state. It's just she's become almost untouchable.
So if that's the case, and you have these untouchables that get to manipulate, that get to, create havoc, that get to then come out and be martyrs about, changing history and all this stuff. then that's why people get discouraged about the whole idea of voting and the whole idea of having a free society, because actually it's not. You have a set of rules for people who could pay for it and a set of rules for everybody else who's just basically liabilities, or uh add them to the system. Like, we don't discardable. They're the real deplorables, right? The regular society. She said it perfectly. She's
It
trying to disparage Trump's supporters, but she was actually talking about regular people.
it would take a Trump in a second term after re-election to take down a guy like Soros.
I mean, everybody says he goes after Putin, he goes after Young In Yong Yoon, he goes after
You're stupid.
he goes after all these different people.
You're
But
crazy.
if the root of the problem and the chaos that's really affecting American lives is not Russia, it's George Soros, then let's do something about that. Right?
Yeah.
Epstein was a problem of child trafficking and this whole underground Illuminati psychopathic blood lusting group of folks. And
hmm
he made steps to take that down, right? Like,
hmm
that's what we're working. So why I just don't understand why we keep hearing about George Soros and this guy is untouchable. Then for that, what's the point? What's the point in any of it?
The people that in power are getting rich. Right. That's the whole. That's the whole idea. That's why I brought that. I know we're not due to talk about it, but I'm going to bring it up there. Now that article that I sent you, that's in Tablet Online, that talks about the connection between people in Washington D.C. and
Mhm.
China, for example.
Mhm.
People, the reason why nobody's going after people like George Soros, because there's others like him. It's not just him,
Oh yeah.
but he's the poster child for what's wrong in terms of how things are being run in DC and things are being funded. You have an
Well, would
elite.
you agree that a Bill Gates is also within that same Soros circle?
He's also bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Just look at the thing. Forget about the good things that he do in Africa. Look at some of the bad things in terms of the vaccines and like Bill Gates is a total progressive loon, and he's trying
Mhm.
to look. He's trying to. Trump goes out there and he talks about hydroxychloroquine, and then here comes Bill Gates talking about a vaccine when hydroxychloroquine and Z-Paks have a record of working.
Mhm.
And here come
Mhm.
Bill Gates selling a damn vaccine.
Yeah, wanting to inject in it, and then that they gave it to the poor and low income
Like,
people
shut the
first.
hell up.
Like,
Like,
that's supposed to help. That
they
makes
give
you
it to
look
the Africans.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like shut the hell up, Gates. Like, I
Mhm.
wish him and Melinda would go away.
Oh,
Steve
I
Jobs,
wish Obama and freaking Michelle would go away too. Like,
Steve Jobs' wife. I wish she would go away too. Like
oh,
a lot
wow.
of them. I mean, these people. That's why I brought that China story up because, and it's a story like for the audience. It's a story on tabletmag.com by an author Lee Smith. It was published on September the 15th, 2020. And the title of it is America's China Class Launches a New War Against Trump. And basically, the subtitle, the corporate tech and media elites will not allow the president to come between them and Chinese money. And
Yep.
so that on a large scale, it's not just Chinese money, it's Soros money,
Mhm.
it's other money out there that the
Well,
elite
these
corporate
are the
stuff.
globalists. The
Yep.
globalists. So you go with the strongest country. At one point, China was nowhere near a economic superpower, nowhere
Yep.
near it. They were poor, their manufacturing was nothing, everything they created was crap. So they had to go out and steal IP and steal technology and find out how we do it so they could mimic it, imitate it. how many people have created, different products using their manufacturing,
Mm.
and they basically knock it off and sell more than the original brand could have sold.
Yeah.
Like, this is just what they do. And in doing that, year after year after year after year, have accumulated a certain amount of wealth. They also don't have any regard for actual people. So killing off, hundreds of thousands of people, sending people to concentration camps, doing all kinds of slave labor and all that stuff is perfectly allowable over there. So they don't have to pay anybody. They don't have any labor laws and regulations, and they could just accumulate, accumulate, accumulate all the wealth that they currently have, which also comes with power because then you get to manipulate the others.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
here we are, 2020.
Well, in the article, I just want to point it out. They name names, so you have elites
Give us
in all
names. Give us
spheres.
names. Tell us
Well,
some names.
they even named General Mattis, how he sat on the board of a company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You're
Yeah.
fired.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they even General Mattis, General Stanley McChrystal. Um, they
They all
named
sellouts.
yep, McChrystal, head of Operation Afghanistan. Let's see here. They also called out. Let's see here how there were ties from some of the news publications here
Of course.
in China. Um, Technopolis like Amazon, Apple,
Did
Google, and
you
Facebook.
did you just send me a link that was saying that, or did I see it in the news that they arrested an NYPD officer for being a Chinese operative? Did you send that to me?
You saw it in the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Diane Feinstein's driver was a Chinese spy. Remember that? 20
Yeah.
years.
He was with her
20
for 20
years.
years. The other
What the
ones got
hell?
Pakistanis doing their IT and stealing the information that way. It's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
They so crazy. You know what it is though? Trying to keep all these secrets and everything, we end up being more uninformed or ill-informed, more subjected to this mental, game of who's delusional, what stories do you believe, what's real media, what's real journalism, who's fake news, who's real news. You don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows.
Mhm.
Nobody knows.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, they sold us out, folks. I mean, well, basically, the article explains why. This is why the elites in Washington D.C. are mad at Trump because Trump is upsetting the apple cart. He's changing the relationship between China and the United States. Renegotiating that trade deals,
Yes.
changing our stance on
Well, also
a
putting the
deterrent.
tariffs on them was probably what initiated their release of the Wuhan virus.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. They definitely engaged in biological warfare.
Yep.
It's just he's not. I don't think Trump is calling it out because it's his first term. He's just
Well,
trying.
and we don't know what's happening in the background
Yep,
anyways.
he's trying to get through this term, get through the hump, and get maybe get an. They've signed phase one of the trade agreement with China. I think
Yeah.
he's trying to get through this term and then see what happens. But I know they're probably looking at measures of retaliation. They're not going to use biological warfare, but maybe today he put them on blast in the UN.
Mhm.
He did do that. So diplomatically,
It's not a
um,
good
ice,
look.
it's not a good look. Diplomatically isolating China because the whole it wasn't just the United States. The entire Western Hemisphere got infected with this
Yeah.
virus.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how crazy is it, right? Trump can sign a peace agreement in the between Well, in the Middle East, let's say, between all of the countries in the Middle East.
Well, it's
Yet,
Bahrain, UAE, and Israel.
right. Well, and then other people will start adding on. He said he had a
Yep,
whole list of folks that will start adding on to it.
that would be crazy.
But how insane is it that he's doing these negotiations, right? Solving a problem that has been what? They've been forever bombing each other over there.
Yep.
And now here, because of Trump and these radical psychos, we have our own version of upheaval and civil war, and people don't want to
Oh,
acknowledge it in the US, but that's
it's
what's happening.
definitely terror. It's terrorism. It's definitely cat
I
is
think it's
definitely
deeper.
terrorism.
I think it's way deeper. Because when you have a terrorist, let's just say, we have mechanisms in place to defeat them because they're foreign. Here, these are homegrown.
Yeah, they're domestic terrorists.
Yes. And we are definitely in a civil war in an ideological civil war. It's no longer location north and south. Maybe it's like cities versus, the rest of the country.
No, I think it's the radical,
Marxists.
unhinged left against the rest of us.
Right.
It's because they're the ones going to these cities, burning them down. They're busting people in to burn down these cities, and at some point, the people with the firearms are going to be like, you know what? All bets are
Enough.
off.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because in places like there's a sheriff who's always being advertised in Polk County, and I'm sure you saw in Florida that has deputized all the people who own firearms in his county, and he said if they come to break into your home, you get to shoot.
Yep.
Like that was what they
Nice.
advertised. And
Nice.
and so guess where they're not going to? Places like that. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going
Mm-hmm.
into areas like that, but they are
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of areas that are not protected, which usually are low income areas and places
Blue
that have
areas.
more immigrant population.
Yep.
Exactly. So you turn a sanctuary city into a war zone,
Yeah.
and it kind of is reminiscent of, Tijuana, Mexico City, height of
Yeah.
the Mexican cartels when they just went in, took over a location, and started killing anybody who had a problem with it.
Yep. That's true. That's exactly right. Wow, that's deep, cat. Wow.
This is where we are in the United States right now. So it's a matter, and people are like, oh, well, those are two extremes. The extremes is all we have right now.
No, shit
There
is
are
burning
no
down.
middle. There's no middle ground. Look at the ideology, and I don't want to talk about it again because I know we captured it in our last podcast. But look at just the physical burning of the forest in California,
Yep.
all the way from the northern border, all the way down the coastlines. All of the forests in California are burning out of control. Why? Because the environmentalists and the leftists trying to protect whatever little guppy, whatever,
Yeah, they can't
trees.
get water down. Like
They don't want to make
they can't
paper. Like
they can't get water down into the state because of some fish.
they stop
Some
the water lines, similar to the way they
That's
tried to
crazy.
stop the oil pipelines. They stopped the water. They changed the way irrigation systems work. They changed the way agriculture is able to grow and thrive in different areas
Farms are dying.
to protect stupid, unnecessary guppies or some kind of minnows or whatever the hell they call them.
Uh,
So
uh,
in their idiotic effort to stop global warming, which I don't know how they think that from California, Silicon Valley, they're going to stop all of the globe from warming when we have a giant sun and the globe keeps rotating without their efforts. Um, they decided to allow the forest to overgrow. They put in place policies that stopped water from flowing. So you created a desert, basically like a forest that is just completely dried and
yeah,
dying.
yeah. I
So
mean, when
then when
you
the Santa Ana comes in with the winds carrying And then these idiots with their pyrotechnics or just going out enjoying camping or whatever little embers sets hundreds and thousands of acres ablaze. And
Yeah.
then they say it's because of global warming. No, no, it's not global warming. It is your idiotic interference into how the globe is already doing its own thing. The forest
Gavin
don't need you. Get out of the way.
Gav, Gavin Newsom is a damn idiot.
They're all a bunch of idiots. They're all a bunch of idiots. I mean, it's
Jeez.
outrageous. It's it's the same mindset as the Green New Deal, right? In
Hmm.
New York, you have all these buildings, you need to retrofit every single building so that it could consume less electricity. So instead of putting all those efforts into creating a power grid, upgrading the power grid to actually sustain the lifestyle and increase the energy feed to everyone, they want everyone to get used to the hotter and colder weathers and cut back on energy usage
Yeah, I know
because
about that.
it's so back assward. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Accommodate the humans. Don't cut back on the power and allow the temperatures to go super extreme and think that you're gonna change how your body feels in it. No. Upgrade the energy line so that we can be comfortable in different extreme weathers as the world changes.
This
Like
is what happens when you put status in charge of your government.
when you put
Bec-
freaking kids in charge, you're gonna cause more pollution trying to retrofit buildings to save to prevent global warming. Does that make
the,
any sense?
the
Does that make any
inmates,
sense?
the
Yes,
inmates are running the asylum. The kids have the keys to the liquor cabinet.
yes, yes. And and then they're following this dodo brain who was literally casted. AOC was a audition. She was in an audition to be in her position.
Yep, 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 yep. She's out there now talking about impeachment. She's talking about more violence in the streets. And, she's talking about, more protesting even in the Senate. I mean, she's lost her damn mind.
She never had her own mind. She was always controlled by whatever the guy's name is, and he's not even is he even American? The tech guy, he's like an Indian tech guy who created that Justice League or whatever it's called. You
Yeah,
know, any
yeah.
group that has the
The
name
Justice
Justice,
Democrats.
yeah, any group that has the name Justice in it is probably anti-justice for all.
No, the guy, he's American. He wanted to run for a seat too. One of the
Well,
young, one
now
of the
he
young.
yes, but now he has 5 seats. He has the Talib seat, he has AOC, and he has the, Omar and, like, the 2 other irrelevant chicks that I'm glad they kinda disappeared into the nothingness.
Mm,
Oh, on a separate note, just side note, I heard that the reason why Biden won't release his Supreme, Court justice picks is because Stacey Abrams is on the list.
oh my God.
Boom!
Where
You
did you
heard it
hear
here first.
that?
I don't know, I got people, I just be hearing things and whatnot.
Ugh.
Stacey Abrams.
Ugh.
Is
So
she
we
a
got this.
lawyer?
Yes,
How
she
does this
is.
happen?
So we
What's
got the
happening
scoop.
in this
How do we
world?
get the scoop on that? You know people like that?
I don't know. People be tweeting in my ear and stuff. I just be picking up conversations here and there and whatnot.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Wouldn't that be so crazy? But it's like totally in line with the lunacy that we already see them playing out.
Wow. Wow.
It's
That
all a
is
play, folks. It is all a play. Joe Biden got his teleprompter. Kamala had her little stint with her people who got her in, who moved her up the ladder.
Stacey
Pelosi,
Abrams on the Supreme
oh yeah,
Court list. Oh God, that's just a disaster. Not only is she not qualified,
she's not qualified to even be governor of this state.
but
Forget about anything else.
all of her opinions will be based solely on ideology. You would have a Supreme Court justice that's totally reliant on her clerks.
I tell you. I don't know.
It would
This
be
is
like
what
putting a
happens.
ninth. It would be like putting a Ninth Circuit judge in there.
It would be like allowing your 16-year-old knucklehead idiot kid to vote.
That's crazy.
Basically. You're giving the juvenile delinquents free reign over the population. Good luck with
That's
that. It's like Lord of the Flies. We have a freaking actual Lord of the Flies situation. You got the ones that'll kill you just to make their point and control the masses. And then you have the good guys who don't feel like they need to murder, but in the end, they end up murdering people to get things back on track.
mm-hmm.
So we just need the adults to come and save us.
Wow. Whew.
A mess, a mess, a
Lord
mess.
help us if Stacey Abrams.
Well, I will leave you with that little tidbit to chew on. Thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to keep in touch on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you like our podcast, share our podcast and subscribe. Post some comments. Let us know what you think. And until next time, Juan, adios.
Ciao.
This is The Cure.